Welcome to She Who Speaks Abundance, the podcast for women who are ready to awaken their divine power and step into a life of true fulfillment. We're your hosts, Cheryl Andrisani and Kelly Williams, two purpose-driven women who've transformed our lives through spiritual alignment, conscious mindset work, and the power of intention. Here, abundance is more than just money. It's a mindset, it's a frequency, and it's your divine birthright. Each week, we'll share real conversations, practical tools, and spiritual wisdom to help you reclaim your worth. It's time to rise into the abundant life that you were meant to live. Let's get this party started. So Kelly and I met when we were both moderators in a manifesting mastery Facebook group. And the two of us just seemed to connect because our paths seemed to align so well. We were both going through kind of the same things, and we just hit it off right from the very beginning.
Right. And both of us at that time really desired to have a coaching business. We have had to, and we're working through many of our own self concept and self worth issues to get us to a place where we felt that we could teach others along the path. And that's something that we've both worked through over the last couple of years. And now we are expanding and growing in our practices, working with people and guiding other people after we have been through many, many of the same situations. And we have been practicing the law of assumption for 2, 3, 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know about you, but my journey actually started off in 2009, right after I had my third child. And for me, my life wasn't going the way that I thought it would. Like I had everything. I was married. I had a home. I had all the materialistic things that I could desire. I had, three amazing children, but yet I felt like I was living Groundhog Day. And I thought one day there is got to be more to life than what I was actually living. And I couldn't understand why, when I had everything, what appeared like I had everything on the outside, I just didn't feel fulfilled. There was something missing. And that's what started my journey into first learning about the law of attraction. I learned that for 11 years, and that led me to the law of assumption. That is when my life actually took off. And I think there's so many things that we just don't know about how life is created. We just think that life happens to us, and we're always constantly reacting to what life throws at us. And I don't know about you, Kelly, but I had no idea that we actually had control over what happens in our lives until I learned about the law of assumption. So, and it's changed my life in so many ways. Um, and I know that it's changed yours too. So maybe you can tell us about how you experienced it and how you started with it.
Absolutely. And I just want to note one thing you mentioned is the coming to the realization about how much control we have over our life, which it's funny because you have to flip it. You're trying to control your life in the paradigm before you come to this knowledge, and you feel like you have no control the more you hang tight to it. And then when you surrender and you go into your imagination and just create the abundance that you want in your imagination, then you have complete control without hanging so tightly onto all of those things. So, yes, I have a very similar story. Mine started really in 2018. I was in a similar place as you, Cheryl, living in a gorgeous, huge house. We moved in because I was making good money, and I was like, I deserve to have a big house. I deserve to have nice things. And I did, but I said that and I didn't fully embody it. And so after a while, we spent a lot of time living in that house trying to sell that house. So it was like we always had one foot in and one foot out the door. And at that time, I kind of started questioning all of the past religious beliefs, the way I was raised as a child, what reality really is, how do we really move through this reality? And I also started having a big paradigm shift. And we went from Christianity to Hebrew roots and spent a couple of years studying the Torah. And that actually led us to the law of attraction through, just studying all of these ancient texts that we were coming across. And so, we got into the law of attraction. Bill Donahue was someone we really enjoyed. He kind of weaves scripture into his teachings. And it really wasn't until after we moved to Mississippi, we sold everything, and I started my yoga studio right after COVID that I stumbled upon the law of assumption, and I was very much intrigued in the teachings of Neville Goddard and how it was similar to the law of attraction, but the embodying and stepping into the feeling and the state was much different and went kind of into a deeper level.
Yeah, definitely. I like to say that the law of assumption is like the law of attraction on steroids. Because for those people that don't know what the law of assumption is basically that we attract who we are, and our lives are made up of everything that we assume to be true. And Neville Goddard said that assume that you already are who you want to be. And that way, it works with the law of attraction so that you start manifesting the things that you actually want. But the problem that most people have with the law of assumption is they use their imagination to imagine who they want to be, but there are a lot of underlying beliefs within ourselves that we're not actually consciously aware of. And that's why it doesn't necessarily work for people. Um, I think that the law of assumption really is truly a journey about understanding who we are and what we believe. And we've inherited a lot of beliefs that aren't actually ours. And it really is learning to understand what we actually believe, because what we believe is how we act and how we feel and the thoughts that we think. And I know with Neville Goddard's, I practiced his fundamental principles, which, and the very first step of that is self-observation. It's the awareness of who you're being in that moment, because in every single moment we are creating our future experiences. And a lot of times people aren't even understanding who they are being in the moment, or aren't consciously aware of that. So this is why Kelly and I started this podcast, because the underlying foundation of this podcast is the law of assumption. And a lot of people just don't know how to apply it. And so that's what we're here to do, is we're here to help everybody with sharing practical tools that have worked for us, sharing the spiritual wisdom that we've learned over the years. I know that for me, I had a really bad relationship with God, and I believed in a God that was outside of us. But as I learn more and more, I understand the messages in the Bible that God actually dwells within each and every single one of us. And it really is about learning how to use that connection. And this connection is always there. And using that connection for our good, because we don't realize that God's answer is always yes. And a lot of times we're focused on things that we wouldn't want to keep manifesting in our lives. And the answer is always yes. And so that's how we always get more of what we don't want because we're not realizing in the moment what we're focused on and what we're actually planting in our imagination. And so we're also going to be sharing our personal success stories because I don't know about you, Kelly, but I love hearing personal success stories and getting behind the stories, not just like the end result, but the pathway to those stories, right? And how I can use those stories into my own personal life as well, right? And so we're going to help with the mindset shifts that are required to help us get to the life that we actually dream of. And so it really is a journey into understanding our life paths and understanding who we are. And for me, it has changed my life. And we're all worthy of living a life that we desire. I mean, our desires are planted there for a reason. And we all deserve to have that life. What do you think, Kelly?
Yes, I think desires are directly from God, even if they seem shocking or shameful to you based on your childhood, your religious upbringing. Everything is natural, even when it comes to romantic or sexual desires, and many people shove those down and pretend that they don't have them,
There's
or
a
having
bunch.
an attraction to another person. You have to let that flow through you and release the shame around those experiences. Having more money, there is no shame in wanting to have more money. God wanted us to come here and experience the currency of money.
I agree with that. And there is a lot of guilt and shame, especially like, I don't know about for you, but in my own religion, it was like, be grateful for what you have. And it was, ingrained in me that it was kind of selfish to want more, that if you wanted more, that you weren't grateful. So, it really is getting rid of a lot of stigmas that society places upon us. There is a whole collective consciousness of ideas that aren't serving, and it really is up to each individual to determine what that is for them, whether or not they want that to be true. Now, I know from the coaching that I've done and in the spaces that I've been involved in is that the number the two most popular topics that people really want to gain mastery over is love and money. And
Yes.
both of those things, like, I mean, to me, it's a given that everybody should have that. If you want it, you should have it. It's just maybe people don't yet realize that they're wanting it maybe for the wrong reasons. A lot of people want love because they don't feel the love within themselves and they're seeking love in order to love outside of them in order to validate themselves. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
one of the things that I want everybody to know when they come to this podcast is that they are already whole and complete. They were born that way. They are divine perfection. And what really causes us pain and suffering is the disconnection from that one truth. We all tell stories that keeps us disconnected from that, and we somehow feel that we're broken or that there's something wrong with us. But truly, what I believe is that there is nothing wrong with us, and that we need to get back to that divine perfection that we are, which means that we have to get rid of the beliefs and the stories that hold us apart from that truth. So I hope that this is what all of our listeners are going to gain from that. When Kelly and I talk, there are a lot of really great riffs. And to me, it's like girlfriend talk, where we can be totally honest with each other, and be able to freely express ourselves without that shame or that guilt, right? So, I hope that our listeners will gain things from what we share with each other, and then, test it out and apply it into their own lives, because that's basically how I know. I'm speaking from experience. Whatever I learned from these spiritual teachers, and over 17 years of doing this work, I have learned so much from different spiritual teachers. And all I did was just test it out, right? These teachers are, the people that write the books and all of these experts. I used to think, why are they sharing this? Right? Why they wouldn't be sharing it if there wasn't any truth to it, right? And the only way that I could know for sure if it was true was to test it out for myself. And so I did over the years. And when I was just doing the law of attraction, I got okay results. But a lot of that was spiritually bypassing, with the positive talking. And, I wasn't really getting down to the root of the problem, which was all of the limiting beliefs that I was still operating from. And that's where law of assumption really helped me flourish, because I had to understand myself. Why do I believe these things? And where did I get that belief from? A lot of our beliefs aren't even from ourselves. They are beliefs that we inherited from the people that we grew up with, our parents, our guardians, our teachers, our schooling, our friends, culture, right? And those beliefs don't necessarily align with what we actually want to experience in with our lives. And so it really is getting to know ourselves. And so this is a journey. There is no quick fix to us, which is what a lot of people want to do, is they want to just manifest what they want, and they want it yesterday. But it really is about allowing yourselves to step into that new version of yourselves and really release a lot of the old stories and the old beliefs that we've been conditioned to believe. So what else do you have?
Going back to the manifesting love, because I would say even more than money, the SP, specific person, if you haven't heard the Neville Goddard talk, the specific person questions that come up on the forums, I would say outdo money 90% of the time.
Yeah,
Money is I think for most people, money is a survival. You have to have enough money. You want to have enough money to survive, right? You have to feel safe. So if you at least have enough to feel safe, most people are like you mentioned, especially being raised in religion, you're like, well, I have enough, I live in a decent house. Okay, money, I'm good. Love, having even friends around you that love you and hold you, having a partner that loves you, but particularly having a romantic partner seems to be a very big sticking point with many people. And I believe one reason it is so tough for people to manifest the right partner, sometimes they manifest partners who are abusive, don't treat them right, give them breadcrumbs, et cetera, because they can't sit with themselves and feel whole and complete in themselves. And as you mentioned, they are seeking this specific person to validate them and help them feel whole and complete. Well, if you don't have at least a bit of that wholeness and completeness in yourself, you will not manifest the partner that you desire. So the worthiness work and the self-concept work and the observation of self as you are, chasing these people, because a lot of people with SP questions are chasing, and you don't want to chase, you attract. You sit back and let yourself be magnetic. Um, they end up spinning their wheels because they're not taking the time to do that self-observation and say, why am I so hung up on this one specific person? Or why am I hung up on I have to have someone in my life because I just cannot be alone?
Right. Yeah, that actually is so true because I I know even for me, it was hard to be alone. And now after doing this work, I actually love my alone time, right? A lot of times when we're with other people, there are a lot of triggers, but our triggers are really reflections of ourselves, right? There's a reason why we're triggered, and that all generally stems from the beliefs that we hold within ourselves. So it really is important, and that's one of the things that we will talk about as well, why we are triggered and how that is actually a good thing because it helps to get to know ourselves better and then doing the work to find better beliefs that align with who it is that we say that we want to be. Um, yeah, so I really am excited for all the deep conversations that we are going to have on this podcast in the future. I really believe that it will serve our listeners. And so, is there anything, Kelly, before we hop off this first call, that you want to just end this call with?
Just that, I am a yoga teacher. I integrate yoga into my practice, facilitating people into, dropping into their body and regulating their nervous system as they're doing manifestation. I have a brand new website where I have one-on-one calls for manifestation, imagination calls, confidant. If you feel triggered and you just need to blah something out, and you can't tell your husband or your coworker, and maybe it's about your husband or your coworkers. And also I do private yoga sessions as well. So, we both are here also as women who are building our practices, and we could take this much deeper if you're a listener and you want to meet with one of us, and I'll let Cheryl share her offerings, and then we can share links in the podcast show notes as well.
Yeah. What is your company name, Kelly? Do you have company like a website or something?
Yes, Daily Defiance, and my link is through Stan Store. I have a few different offerings there.
Okay, awesome. So we'll put that in the show notes. I think that what you're saying, and I think that why our friendship works so well is because I mainly work on the mindset work, and you do a lot of the body work. And this really is being a mind and body coherence, having that mind and body coherence, right? Because you can think your way, into what you desire all you want. But if you don't have that body energy to go with that and have your body feel safe while you're actually not even going to take any action towards what you want, right? So there really is a connection between our minds and our body. There has to be a coherence there. So I can talk about the mindset work all day long. And yeah, we definitely need the body work as well because we need to feel safe. And that's something that I think that a lot of law of attraction people that follow that are missing, right? Because they're just doing the spiritual bypass work by, thinking good thoughts. Well, you know what? Their bodies are telling you that's a freaking lie. So you need
Hmm.
to have both. And when you learn to have both the mind and the body aligned with your desire, that's when true manifestation happens. And so for me, I am a mindset coach. I actually named my company Living in Joy because with the law of assumption, you're supposed to focus on what it is that you desire in life. And a lot of us tend to focus on our problems instead of on the solutions. So for me, I do a lot of mindset work. I am an entrepreneur. I am a mother and a wife, a mom to three kids, and I've been married to my spouse for 30 years. And it's because of this work that my husband and I have the best relationship in the 30 years that we've been married. I've been able to transform that. I've been able to imagine success for my kids, and it is unbelievable how we are thriving, or my kids are thriving, and us too. But um, that's another thing, like we're entrepreneurs. We wear very many hats. We're moms, we're wives, we're friends, we're daughters, we're siblings. And there's so much to us, and we're such complex beings that when you understand truly how to practice the law of assumption, it will transform every aspect of your life. And Kelly and I believe that we are all deserving of that, right? A lot of people don't believe that they're worthy or good enough, but those are ideas that have just been implanted in us that we're not even conscious of. And so so for me, I do one-on-one coaching. I also do group coaching. I really help people learn to understand how to apply these teachings, these spiritual practices, and integrate them into our lives. And yes, for me, it is also doing the body work by somehow whatever way to calm my body down and make myself feel safe. I do that as well through mindset work with monitoring our inner conversations and really aligning it with what we actually want to experience. So I thank you, Kelly, so much for doing this project with me. I know that we will help transform many lives. And, I know for me, I really want to, target women who are exactly like us, that know that they are meant for more, but just don't necessarily know how to do it. And as we heal ourselves, because that's where the healing begins, is with ourselves first, and then it will have a ripple effect to everybody that surrounds us, especially our spouses and our children and our friends and our families. And so um, it really is important work. So I'm super excited for
It
you,
is.
for us. I really am excited for us.
And
So
I found too that speaking is such a powerful mind body coherence healing tool. Deep, some people it doesn't work for, but for me to come back out on the internet after everything I've been through and actually speak authentically as this is who I am, this is what I've been through, and just sharing my story. Some people writing it is better. So if you're feeling called to write a book or write about your experiences or journal, like do that. These are all very powerful tools. So I believe this podcast also will be a powerful transformation experience between Cheryl and I. Even, even if it's just the two of us riffing, like just speaking our truth to each other and sharing our stories is just amazing, powerful. Two women getting together and like just being who we really are.
Yeah, and supporting each other because that's really, we were never meant to do this journey alone. That's why other people exist, I believe. And yeah. So, anyways, I'm happy to do this with you, Kelly. And we are so honored to walk this journey with you as well. So, if today lit something up inside of you, please make sure that you subscribe to our podcast and if you're ready to deepen your practice and share this with a sister, a friend, or anyone who you'd like to see have more abundance in their life, and please share the podcast with them and let the abundance ripple outward. So, Kelly, this is just the beginning of our richest, most radiant life. And it's already on the way. It's actually already here. So, welcome everybody to the world of She Who Speaks Abundance.
Thank you.